All right, good evening, everybody. It is 6 p.m. This is March the 12th. It's the regular meeting for the month of March for the Town of Spencer Board of Aldermen. We are called to order at this point, and we will begin with an invocation by Alderman Muhammad.
Bow our heads, with a clear heart and mind. God, we thank you for your graciousness, for your mercy. We pray that you guide us to do what is right for this town, for the residents, for the staff, and for the betterment of the future. It is you again we call for help. It is you that we worship. You have blessed us this far. And in your name, may you continue to bless us. Amen.
Amen. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Board, you have before you your agenda for this evening. Are there any requests for any additions or deletions of the to the agenda, or anything additional from staff at this point? No, sir. All right, hearing none, is there a motion to adopt the agenda tonight?
So moved.
Motion by Mayor Pro Tem.
Second.
Second by Mr. Muhammad. All in favor? All right, all opposed? And the agenda is set for this evening. We'll begin with our recognitions, and I'll turn it over to Alderwoman Sledge for a recognition.
I have it here somewhere. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to take this opportunity to thank the management of the Cabarrus-Rowan Community Health Center on their commitment to serve the medical needs of the North Rowan area, and to congratulate them on the $75,000 grant recently received to support the 2,366 square foot expansion of the Cabarrus-Rowan Community Health Center Incorporated facility in Spencer. The primary health clinic expects to create 7 jobs and invest $2,185,120 in this project. This grant was part of the Building Reuse Program, which provides grants to local governments to renovate vacant buildings, renovate and or expand buildings occupied by existing North Carolina companies, and renovate, expand, or construct healthcare facilities that will lead to the creation of new jobs in Tier 1 and Tier 2 counties, as well as rural census tracts of Tier 3 counties. This grant was presented to the town of Spencer as a pass-through for this medical facility in Spencer, and we're grateful to have them here. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sledge. Board, any other acknowledgments, any other recognitions at this point? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to public comment. And as a reminder, our individuals have 3 minutes to speak for public comment. We do have a timer up on the screens to help out. And with that, we do have one individual signed up this evening. We'll invite Mr. Tom Strini forward. If you will, repeat your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Tom Strini. I live at 15 Beauregard Drive in Spencer. Tonight I'd like to offer my thoughts regarding the full-time fire department that I read about in the Salisbury Post. In that article, they talk about a tax increase to pay for the fire department staffing as 7.5 cents per hundred. Compared to the current rate, that's a 13.6% increase. I hope everyone else did that math. Under current assessments, my tax bill is going to go up another $379, which is equal to 2 months of my electric bill, or 3 months of my gas bill, or 18 months of my water and sewer bill. Our personal income has gone up less than 4% per year since moving to Spencer in 2020. Last year, our Spencer property tax went up 22%. Over the past 6 years, Social Security, which comprises the greatest portion of our recurring income, has only gone up 4.8% per year. while my pension does not go up at all. I'm quite certain there are many households in Spencer that will be even more adversely affected by this tax increase than we are. On a related note, I would point out that we have yet to see the impact of the proposed renovation and expansion of the firehouse. Salisbury Fire Station 3, which is being built from scratch on land which they had to develop to get ready to build, is only costing $8 million, whereas the renovation of Spencer's Fire Station is estimated to cost $10 million, which was reported by the Post as $3 to $4 million less than the original proposal. What is Spencer doing that Salisbury is not? Are we gold plating the doorknobs and the bathroom fixtures? Finally, the Salisbury Post reported that the police department had hired additional people and was up to full staff. We now have one officer for every 150 people in the town of Spencer, versus one officer per 430 in the city of Salisbury. We now are more heavily policed than New York City, Los Angeles, or Chicago. Is crime so rampant in Spencer that we need a large police presence? Based on the statistics for major cities, there seems to be zero correlation between the size of a police presence and crime rates. Plus, according to the FBI, fewer than 40% of violent crimes and fewer than 20% of property crimes are ever cleared. For me, the bottom line is that we are a small town, but this body appears dead set on spending as if we were a big city. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. String. All right, board, you have your consent. Well, let me ask too, have we received any written correspondence for public comment?
No, sir.
All right, thank you. Board, you have before you your consent agenda. There are two items, approval of minutes and a resolution. Is there any need to pull anything from the consent agenda to further discuss tonight? And if not, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, there is a motion by Ms. Sledge. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Moody. All in favor? All right, all opposed? And the consent agenda is approved. All right, the next item will invite Mr. Blunt forward for a discussion on ordinance 24-05, which is in consideration of the Hawkins Meadows annexation.
Mr. Mayor, members of the board, I don't mean to shock you so early in the meeting, but I do not have a PowerPoint presentation for you tonight.
Wow.
You have seen the presentation several times. It has not changed since the last time you saw it. We have had 5 public hearings on this process, including the rezoning and the annexation agreement with Salisbury. So it's been publicly announced and advertised and a sign posted, and we are here tonight after many months of consideration on this project to ask you to approve the ordinance 2405, which would annex the Hawkins Meadow property into the town of Spencer. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
All right, thank you, Mr. Blunt. Board, do you have questions on this ordinance? All right, hearing none. Board, is there a motion regarding this ordinance?
I make the motion that we accept this in motion as far as annexing this property line to the town of Spencer.
All right, there is a motion on the floor by Mr. Miller. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Sledge. Any further discussion on this matter? Hearing none, all in favor? All right, all opposed? All right, that is 5-4, 1 against. The motion carries. All right, next item is to consider awarding the 2024 Town of Spencer School Safety and Support Grant Program. Mr. Franzese.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the board. We're going to have a presentation from our lead North Carolina fellow, Ryan Ledbetter, and our finance officer, Heather Can, about the program. And I believe we have our some representation from our schools here as well this evening to talk a little bit about their proposal. And so, Ryan, that'll turn it over to you.
All right. Well, good evening.
Good evening.
So the board previously approved the Spencer School Safety and Support Grant in December. The original deadline was January 31st. We moved that back to the end of February to allow schools more time to organize their proposals. I'm glad to report that all of the proposals are now in. The town had originally appropriated $20,000 in the budget, and $5,000 was allocated to each of the 3 schools, with an additional $5,000 allocated for a joint project proposal. The purpose of the grant was to facilitate programs related to gang violence, human trafficking, and teacher morale. The guidelines required that applicants include proposals addressing at least 2 of the 3 areas. All 3 of those proposals, I believe, do address those areas. The high school submitted a standalone proposal, and the middle school and the elementary school submitted a joint application that includes 4 project proposals, and there's actually a representative from the middle school here tonight to speak on behalf of that grant. We do not have a representative from the high school to speak on behalf of their grant, so I'm going to give you a brief description. So Project A of 2 projects, the first project is a bi-weekly 5-event entrepreneurship project in partnership with the Ralph Kettner School of Business that will teach students skills in entrepreneurship and business. They hope to be able to spark after-school programs with these new skills that the students will learn, and they hope to use the grant money to provide a Cavalier swag bag to guests from the School of Business at each of their events. And then Project B is a community event that will be held in April that will include a panel of local entrepreneurs, radio personality, pop-up vendor expo, and a DJ. Each panelist will receive a Cavalier swag bag as well, and then the cost estimate for this project is $3,800, and the cost estimate for Project A is $1,000, for a total of $4,800. And then if Ashley Miller would like to come up and speak about the joint proposal from the middle school and the elementary school.
Hi.
Good evening.
You know me, but I'm Ashley Miller. I'm at the elementary school, although, fun fact, I've worked at all 3 schools. So I've worked at the middle school and the high school too. And this is Jamie Pacilio. She is at the middle school as well. So we had talked to Chief File and a couple other things, and we decided to meet back in February, early February, I believe. So Chief File and I think it was Ms. Khan and Ms. Pacilio and I, and then we actually brought in one of our counselors to talk about how we could use the funds together. So again, Chief File has his 5, and then our 5, and then and so forth. And you may or may not know, but both the elementary school and the middle school recently won an IPG grant, which is a state grant with a large sum of money for both of us to do some similar kind of things on a more academic side. So the reason we wrote this, though, is of course in the spirit of what the grant is for. But there are some things that sometimes federal programs does not let us spend money on, and regardless of the reason. So we kind of felt like using our resources and these resources together could maybe, make this more robust. So our first project, we would like to do kind of a community event August 10th to do like a kickoff back to school. That's actually the Saturday after school starts. And our rationale for that was to give time for us to be able to make sure that all kids had been informed, because again, we know in the summer they may or may not be around. And especially since right now at the middle school, we do have all of our Knox kids too. So we wanted to make sure that they all had been given the information in a timely manner. I mean, we can advertise in lots of ways, but we just wanted to make sure that we had done that. So August 10th on that Saturday, and we have contacted several speakers that are known for motivation, again, a lot of times related to those topics of drug use, violence, and human trafficking. Now, we did discuss the fact that, of course, when you're trying to, and because we are inviting the high school as well, even though they weren't a part of this, we wanted this to be an entire North Rowan community, Spencer community activity. But we said, we have to be careful because, of course, you want to be careful of your speech when you're talking about elementary kids, right? I mean, you don't want to get too deep into human trafficking when you're talking about 5-year-olds. So anyway, so I contacted several of them, and some were available and some were not. But we have secured 2 speakers that said they are available and they would be happy to come. And their cost is comparatively not as bad as, some speakers. We've paid a lot more before for PD. Mike Hall is the first one, and again, he's known around for being really good with kids as far as being very motivated and engaging and holding their attention. And then he was so excited about our situation. I explained the whole, North Rowan area, that he actually wants to come for free in May to the elementary school to do a speech. So we're going to tie him into our EOG pep rally week. So I was excited about that. I didn't even ask. He's like, I really want to come earlier than August too. So he's like, I'm just going to throw that in for free. So we're excited about that. The other one that has confirmed is Alex Hyatt. And again, both of these are actually fairly local. They live in the state of North Carolina. Some of the others that we've tried to contact, are more nationwide, so which means they get busy faster and so forth. One person that the group really wanted was Daryl Strawberry, and we're still working on that. But again, it's Daryl Strawberry, so I can't make any promises. But we are in contact with his handler, which right there tells you that it takes a little more time to get that. But again, we're working on that. And I even had contacted Javon Hargrave. His aunt worked with me, and so we talked about that. But of course, August is a bad time for a football player because it's training camp, which I knew that. And then I also, even though he's not a North grad, but I had talked to Jalen Walker's mom because she is a North grad, and I actually tutored him. So anyway, so I talked to her, and so again, same thing. Even he'll be in Georgia, in training. But they did both say that they would be willing to come, off season. And I told her that, we would look at paying, and she said absolutely not, that he would love to do it for free. So I also had reached out to some other more recent grads that, again, played football or, were, scholars and so forth, about maybe bringing them in as well. So again, looking all over the place, but I wanted, again, that motivation as far as, for kids to see what good things can happen when you stay focused on the right things. So that's Project A. The big thing with that, again, that we would need help from the town with is we are not allowed to purchase food for anything. Food is hands off with federal programs. So anything that we do, food would have to come out of personal budgets, or if our PTA was a little more robust, it would be out of that. So that would be an area that we would like to consider. And we're not talking about anything elaborate with that. We're going to invite food vendors, the food trucks would be able to be present. But we were just thinking, especially August, it'd be nice to get some water, water bottles and things, and maybe some small snacks as far as that goes. The other big thing that we are doing with this that is, again, a cost that we can probably get some of it, but again, I'm not sure because sometimes our restrictions are pretty tight, is we are working, got an artist to come up with a design for a t-shirt that incorporates all 3 schools. So it's going to have all 3 mascots kind of working together, which is a little bit hard to have a Cavalier, a Bull, and a Train, but we're going to make it work. I mean, he's shown me a couple of them, and like I said, he's very good. So that was something again, that's going to be kind of a pretty big expense because we do want to offer all of the shirts for all the kids, again, K-12. We want to have those available and staff. So again, looking at that, that's kind of a big expense as far as that. So that's kind of the big thing there. We are looking to also invite other agencies that day, for information for people. So maybe Novant, Health Department, things like that, they could just set up and be available for information. All right, Project B. I don't have it. Okay. I hate when that's all I take over. So Project B is more focused on our staff. We do, I'm sure, as you know, have a lot of kids with trauma and a lot of kids that have already faced some of these things that we're looking at as far as experienced violence or witnessed it and so forth. And so we feel like, especially having so many staff members who are new and or not certified, meaning they don't have a lot of background in some of these things. We have reached out to Cheryl Fuller, who is an expert in training people on trauma sensitivity and trauma response. And we are going to work on doing a one-day professional development for that. So that's our second project. And it would be a joint effort again between the elementary and the middle school. So both staffs would get this professional development for one day. And she wrote a book, around this. And so I think that would be very helpful to our staff. And again, we can probably cover the cost of her possibly, but the other thing is, along with that, we felt like it would be good and morale boosting if we could serve the staff lunch that day. So that is something, again, that we're looking for some assistance with that. Doesn't have to be anything too fancy, but, our teachers like them. And then along with that, we had talked a little bit when we met with Chief File that, it would be good, like throughout the year, to maybe do some small things for wellness with staff, maybe some opportunities for some things just to, again, show them the care and working on that morale boost. Project C, I kind of already mentioned. We're going to use some of the speakers that weren't available in August, and we're going to do some things throughout the year around those same topics. Again, not necessarily big names, but, the same kind of thing. And then finally, Project D is really almost just kind of a jumping off point. Working on applying for the 21st Century Grant through NCDPI, which is another grant similar to IPG as far as size goes. And it is primarily focused on pre-K and after school. And I firmly believe that pre-K is an area that this community needs to focus on, just because I do the screening for kindergartners coming in, and I can tell you a lot of them are already years behind. And that's, that's hard to catch that up, even though we have amazing kindergarten teachers. It's really hard to make that up. So that's one of the things we had put in here, that we would maybe like to, the way the grant works, again, we know how funding in federal state can be delayed. We would like maybe some assistance if we find out we're getting this grant, maybe to at least start it, so that we can go ahead and put some staffing in place with this. Because again, the pre-K piece would be a summer program, which again, it may not be this summer, maybe next summer. The pre-K program would be a summer program to bring in those pre-K kids before. And then the after-school program could serve any of them from K through 8. And again, it would be a combination. It's not just tutoring. It's going to have an academic component, an SEL or social emotional component, a mentoring component, and then a part we feel strongly about is an athletic component. We think that that is a way to bring our kids back in with, to avoid gangs and so forth. If we can get our kids to feel bonded to something and feel that sense of belonging, then that gives them that reason to stay away from the other alternative. Okay.
That is a lot. You got
It
a
is.
lot
I'm
going on
sorry.
this morning. That is great. Board, do you have any questions for staff or Ms. Miller or Ms. Chilia?
Who is Ed Direction? Is that a real person?
With the company, or
Oh,
yes.
oh, okay.
Years ago, they were called Drive, so they used to work with the school system as a partner. So that, when we did the IPT grant, that's actually what that is, Innovative Partnership Grant.
Okay.
And so we had to select a partner, and we chose them because they do have strong academics, but they are very strong in the social, emotional, and working with teachers to build that capacity, again, with our teachers, many of them coming in untrained. So they've been phenomenal. They are both our partners and Henderson. So all three of us have the same partner. And again, they're at our disposal for whatever we need. So, and they're all specialized in a lot of it. So, good question.
Thank you.
Just for, and more for staff, just for folks playing along at home, everything talked about and proposed is already covered by appropriated money, right? So we're not funding new money.
That's correct. This
Okay.
is enacting a program around money that was included in the current year budget.
Okay.
And if you recall, it was a strategic initiative of ours to provide some additional support beyond the county school system for our local schools here in Spencer, which was your idea, I believe.
It was.
a great one.
It was. Well, let me ask this.
You set that up beautifully.
Darts and laurels, right? If this is our first time doing this, and we just kind of circled the number that we ended up being at, was that a useful number? Should it be more focused? I mean, again, having taught myself, there's never enough, right?
Right.
I know that, but But for our purposes, as we move toward a budget, was this a helpful amount? Would it be better for us to do smaller amounts that are more focused or targeted? Was it easy to use this? I guess that maybe that's the best question, just so we can improve upon
When
this.
I did the budget, again, some of it was definitely ballpark because it was speakers at the time, didn't have full confirmation on some of them. So it came up to 17,000, which again, we're trying to keep it under 15. But like I said in the budget, that's assuming that we did right to nothing. And again, that's not an issue. Like I said, speakers are something we can help out with. It's just certain parts of this that, like I said, when federal programs, says no, then we just, sometimes need help with that. But yeah, I think that's great. And again, like I said, we met with Chief File because, and one of the first ideas we had is, we all remember DARE. And so we talked about, that would be a great program to incorporate, some sort of drug prevention program. But DARE's kind of, I'm aging myself a little bit, but, it's not really a thing anymore much. There was a program, and it's also not kind of waned a little bit. And it's also extremely expensive because Chief File did call to find out about getting certified. I think Officer Reed is certified in it, but he's like the only one that's still here that's certified, so he would have to be like the sole teacher. But he did say there's a new program that's kind of in the works, and so we are still looking at that. Again, we didn't put it in here because it's almost like still in its beginning stages. But that is something that all of us felt strongly that would be something good to look at in the future once it's available and we have a price. Because again, the price tag on DARE and the other one is way more than I ever expected. But so that's something else that we have looked at. But yeah, I think the amount was good. Like I said, we work closely together on a lot of things anyway, so it was just good for him to be willing to kind of pull it together.
I want to thank all of you for the hard work that you did in coordinating this and getting it all together. My experience in education showed that anytime the three schools were on the same page and working together, we got really good results, and Jamie knows that too. So I'm really, really happy for and proud of y'all. And I'm proud of you, Ryan, for staying with this and getting this together and bringing it all to us. And,
Well, most credit has to go to them.
well, I know it's hard to write a grant, but I really appreciate the time and effort and thought that you put into this. And Crystal also. She couldn't be here because of an illness.
All right.
And I'm assuming the board probably knows, but I didn't mention this. We do have a really strong relationship with both the Spencer Police Department and the Fire Department. They are in our schools every day. Not because of emergencies necessarily, but I mean, they are there, like, reading to our kids and talking to our kids. And so, I mean, I feel strongly that that's one of the many things that makes this town, wonderful. And I love working here, former student, all the things. So, because again, our kids love all of them. They love the Brown and all the firemen that come through.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
All right. Board, is there a motion to make the award of these school safety and support grants?
I so move.
Motion by Mayor Pro Tem.
Second.
Second by Mr. Muhammad. All in favor? All right. All opposed? And those are approved. Thank you all, staff. Thank you very much for your work. All right. The next item is going to be to consider adopting various documents for the 17th Street Stormwater Improvements Project, to establish the grant project fund, and authorize the town manager to execute a corresponding task order with Hazen and Sawyer. Mr. Francis?
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. I'll have you remember back to Friday when we spent the day together, and you got to hear a presentation from our consultants, Hazen and Sawyer, about a variety of things, but one of them was this project, the 17th Street Stormwater Improvement Project. And this is something that we were able to apply for a state grant, and we were successful in that to the tune of about $1.9 million. We also were successful in a $400,000 planning grant. The planning grant is already underway, and what this item is about tonight is kicking off the project for the construction improvements on 17th Street. And so the specific actions involve all the state grant documentation that we need to do that, but also establishing our funding mechanism for our budgetary purposes. We're going to establish a separate project fund, a grant project fund, to track this so it doesn't kind of eschew our general operating fund, and it's also going to take place over a few years. If that makes sense. And then the other item is then the authorization to proceed with our consultants Hazen and Sawyer for all the design and construction administration related to the project. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them at this time.
All right, board, questions for the manager on this project?
I think you answered the questions I had on Friday, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pretty clear.
I think it's important to point out that staff gone out and helped us get yet another enormous grant to help pay for this.
Yeah.
Without which we would not be able to do it.
Right.
So that is well done. Yeah.
Very good. All right, board, so you have resolution 24-06 in front of you. It's essentially accepting the grant funds in the amount of $1,959,462. So is there a motion to approve resolution 24-06?
So move.
Motion by Mr. Muhammad.
Second.
Second by Ms. Moody. Any discussion? All in favor? All right, all opposed? And that is approved. All right, the next item would be to authorize the town manager to execute a task order for the work with Hazen and Sawyer.
We need the ordinance 2406.
That's what we just did. I'm sorry. Resolution 24. Yes, and the ordinance. Thank you. So we also have ordinance 24-06, which accepts these into the budget. So is there a motion to approve ordinance 24-06?
Make a motion that we approve this ordinance.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Motion by Mr. Miller, second by Mr. Howell. All in favor? All right. All opposed? And that's approved unanimously. Thank you. All right, next item then is to direct the town manager to execute a task order with Hazen and Sawyer. And anything additional you want to add on that piece beyond what you've already explained?
The only thing I'll mention is, again, the activities associated with the task order cover continuing the design on the project, and the task order represents services that have been already negotiated with the state and making sure it's lining up with the grant expectations. And but yeah, so it's going to involve some public involvement opportunities and everything through the design process, and then construction administration as well.
Okay, great. Board, any questions on that task order? Hearing none, is there a motion to authorize the manager to execute that?
I move to allow the manager to authorize this.
All right.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Sledge, second by Mr. Muhammad. All in favor? All right. All opposed? And that's approved unanimously. Thank you. All right. The next item, we're going to invite Mr. Blunt forward to consider adopting Resolution 24-07 to direct the town clerk to investigate an annexation petition at 1840 Highway 29.
Mayor, members of the board, this is what has become the normal process of this town annexing another property. We have received an annexation petition from a private property owner asking to be annexed into the town's municipal limits. The steps that you're taking tonight are procedural in nature but are required by statute. So the first item before you is Resolution 2407, directing your clerk to investigate the sufficiency of the petition that was presented to us. So I would ask that you approve that resolution.
Okay. Any additional detail you want to share with the board on the specific property in question?
I will be glad to tell you or to remind you that this is the same property that you approved rezoning on, 1840 Highway 29, US Highway 29, the old Smoky Joe's, or the Smoky Joe's, the old Crazy
Chicken
Horse property. The request for rezoning was approved to MU2 so that he could operate various and sundry businesses under that classification. The annexation, the purpose, as I've explained to you, he wants to take it from a bar, which is allowed to do under a conditional use permit, to a full-service restaurant, and he wants to be able to serve liquor by the drink as a part of that restaurant. To serve liquor by the drink in Rowan County, you have to be located in a municipality. So he has to be annexed in before he can take that next step. This also creates a bridge from our current municipal limits to the North Carolina Finishing Company property, which was a satellite annexation, and connects the two and makes all of that contiguous. Once we get through these procedural steps, we will have a public hearing and I will make a PowerPoint presentation to you. I promise I won't skip that one. And I'll show you maps of how all that is doing good things for our community. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
All right, thank you, Mr. Blunt. Board questions? Okay. Hearing none, is there a motion to approve resolution 24-07 to direct the clerk to investigate the petition received for this property for annexation?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Sledge. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mayor Pro Tem. All in favor? All right. All opposed? All right. And that resolution is approved unanimously.
Mayor and members of the board, the next item before you, some communities like to stretch these annexations out over a half a year before they get them done. In Spencer, we like to get them done as quickly as possible. So in anticipation that you would ask her to investigate the sufficiency of this petition, your clerk has jumped ahead of herself, jumped ahead of all of us. I think she's ready to report to you on the sufficiency.
All right.
Yes, I have investigated this petition for annexation and found it to be sufficient and have completed the certificate of sufficiency.
Okay. Very good.
And then the third step that we'll ask you to do tonight is adopt resolution 2408, which sets a date for the public hearing for the annexation of this property. That date would be at your pre-agenda meeting next week.
And that date is 5:30, April the 4th. And that is resolution 24-08 in your packet. Any questions on that resolution? And if there are none, is there a motion to set that public hearing date?
Move to say this.
All right, motion by Mr. Howe. Or second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Muhammad. All in favor? All right, all opposed? And that is approved unanimously. All right, thank you, Mr. Blunt. And the next item is, we actually need to approve the certificate of sufficiency.
No, that's just an official report back to you.
Okay,
She signs and goes in this part.
Okay. All right. I believe the next item on the agenda then is our departmental reports, and that's why Mr. Blunt is still standing there. He's going to give the planning report.
You thought I was just too lazy
I
to
was
sit down. Members of the board, you have a copy of my written report for the monthly activity for the planning department. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
I'm shocked.
There's one listed for Lincolnton Street.
Mhm.
Is that a place, is Lincolnton
I think
Street?
it's actually Lincoln Street. I probably misspelled that, but it's on the northwestern side of town going out 3rd Street.
It's not out there near
It's
J.
out there.
Alexander. Okay,
It's not that one.
okay. And, well, the other question I had was, I guess the sidewalk idea for Hawkinstown Road.
Something we're starting to kick around and finding the problems that are associated with a municipality building a sidewalk outside of the municipality, and then building a sidewalk on a DOT road. Who's going to maintain the sidewalk once it's built? There are funds available to build sidewalks. We just have to overcome a few technical problems, and then I think we'll be back to you with a suggestion to do that. We do need to meet with the residents. The sidewalk would be built in the road right away, but we want to make sure that the folks in Hawkinstown want the sidewalk. before we put it out there.
And I would add, I believe you talked some about that on Friday as, as an alternative idea. If we're having challenges with the thought of a greenway along the creek, this sidewalk could accomplish the same type of connection in a different way. But that is the issue about if it's not in town limits, there is an issue there. Maintenance. If, for example, Salisbury Avenue here is an NCDOT facility. NCDOT will construct sidewalks on their facilities if the local government provides the extra money that is required of that, but they do not maintain them. It's up to the local government to maintain them, even on a NCDOT facility, which in town you can understand, but when it's not in town limits, that becomes something we have to figure out. Is that possible? Is there a model that somebody else has already figured out to make that work?
But obviously, from a cost perspective, if we built a greenway to get over to that connection point, which I think is an important step for the town to take, we would have to maintain that greenway. So the cost of maintenance would probably be less for a sidewalk than it would be for a greenway. So we'll be back to you with a more detailed report on that in the future.
All right, board, any other questions on the planning report?
Any starting time on the truck stop?
They have applied for a construction entrance from DOT, so I think that indicates they're ready to start. They have talked to me about a grading permit, so they're ready to start clearing the site. Usually they don't take that kind of step until they're ready to build because they don't want erosion problems over the long period. They did meet with DOT yesterday, trying to work out the intersection and the turn lanes and all the complexities of the Johnson Development Distribution Center across the street and the truck stop on the southern side of the street. So all of that is still moving rapidly towards fruition.
All right, anything else? Thank you, sir. All right. We have the code enforcement report. Looks like we have a fill-in for Chief File. Sergeant Leonard.
Mayor, members of the board, good to see all y'all.
See you too.
I can help you out the best I can. He left me his file, so I will help you out the best I can to answer any questions I can. I think you have the code enforcement report. Looks like total 54 to date, year to date cases, 30 enforced abatement, 21 open cases right now. What he showed me on his report, I'll try to answer any questions I can about code enforcement.
Okay, thanks. Board, you have any questions on the code enforcement report?
I have a question, and really directed to Mr. Francis. How do we stand as far as hiring somebody to take this position? Do we have any prospects as far as that goes?
The position is posted currently. We continue to try to promote that posting. The last number I saw, and Anna, correct me if I'm wrong if you look more frequently than I have, but it was 6 applicants, I believe, the last time I saw.
It's actually 5 individual applicants. One person applied twice, so
Okay.
it appears as 6. Sorry.
So there's our applicants. The police department will be at some point starting once we get to a number that we feel we can start the review process. But at this time, we're continuing to try to solicit.
So what is the target number that we're looking for before we start the process?
I think we're close to it. I would imagine it'd be good if we can get more towards 8 to 10 applicants. But I think there is going to be some movement on that in the near future, if one way or the other.
Yes,
just to
we
at
don't
least
want to lose applicants because we're.
Yeah, Chief File he was actually texting me while I was sitting back there and said to let y'all know that he planned on moving forward with something on that next week.
Okay.
And start looking at reviewing the draft next week.
Okay.
So he did text me that.
Okay.
So we're still contracting some with Central Lina, is that correct?
Yeah, so there's still some assistance they're providing. It's limited. We do have a reserve, a part-time reserve police officer who's joined that's able to also help in this capacity in a part-time basis. So that's where the services are coming from at this point.
I had someone ask me about code enforcement last night, as a matter of fact, so thank you for clarifying that for me, because I thought we had preliminarily determined that there was an individual who was going to come on board with that, so I was wrong.
General question, I don't want to pick on anybody, I'm just seeing something here. A lot of addresses on South Idle Avenue, like 4 or 5, is that like a focal point, or would there just lots of concerns there?
Yeah, I think it just so happened that's how it panned out
Okay,
for a particular period. Not that I've been made aware of, is there
Sure,
anything? I
okay.
think it just so happened that's the way the cards fell for this.
Okay, I just see that and it just kind of jumps out at me, so I appreciate it. Yeah. Boy.
Well, I do know that, as town manager said, Mr. Howard, our part-time officer, has been coming into work, and he has found and created a lot of cases where he went out and he's been doing a really good job hitting the pavement and finding a lot of stuff. You know, over here, a lot of it I'm not directly involved in, but over here, a lot of what's going on with that. He has done a really good job and created a lot of cases. So I feel that probably a lot of that came from some of his searching on the street.
Move on to police report.
Yes, and I believe, again, you have it in front of you. Total number of events for February was 2,395. Park checks, the guys are still doing those. 120 up at the river on our side, or 121 on our side, and 120 on the Davis County side. So they're hitting that area real heavy. I actually just sat everybody down not long ago, and I try to keep them, make sure they know what they're supposed to be doing. Everybody has been, but they're doing a really good job. When I've looked at reports myself recently, park checks, business checks, they're all the stuff. They're really doing a good job keeping that stuff up. And our proactivity has increased tremendously. Obviously, with having more people on the road, more officers, and which has been a very good thing. So very proud of what the guys are doing. Appreciate y'all's support and getting us where we're at. But very proud of our team right now. And I can answer any questions, hopefully, that you have about patrol or anything.
Okay, board, any questions on the police report?
That's just a curiosity, but what does juvenile complaint mean?
So that could range from anything. So it could range from anything that happens at school. If one of the SROs keys in a log into the system as a juvenile complaint, doesn't necessarily mean that there was a charge filed or there was a juvenile contact petition, what's considered a juvenile petition made. It just means that they entered their log in as a juvenile contact or juvenile complaint. It could be getting a call in the middle of the night, there's juveniles walking up the road, or it could be something that was entering into the school, or just where a juvenile was involved.
Thank you.
And I think Chief Fowle told me once that a missing juvenile didn't necessarily mean that we had somebody missing. It just
that is correct. Sometimes that's just the way it's reported. Yeah, we have one particular house we're having issues with right now, but she reports them missing. We know where they're at, but she reports them missing because she knows if she doesn't, she's going to be in trouble with other agencies, so that type of thing. So that doesn't always mean they're missing. Really, in all honesty, about 85 to 90% of the ones that get reported missing, we know where they're at, and we wind up going and getting them before the night's out and bringing them back home. So very few actually are missing.
I just want to say that I applaud the visibility of the police in the town. I think it has helped a lot, and I see them all the time everywhere I go.
Yeah.
And I'm not hearing people complain about it at all. I think most citizens feel that way.
Yeah.
And I notice when I look at the crime stats in the paper and in police blotter and everything, we look pretty darn good.
Yes, ma'am.
And East Spencer looks pretty good.
Yeah.
So we're all working together, and I think that's good.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Like I said, I've been very proud of our guys. They're doing a lot, and I'm hearing word back from the street. I've been here long enough now that a lot of the folks that we used to deal with on complaints, years ago, they know me by my first name, and I'll see them out in public, and I've had 2 or 3 come to me and say, "Man, y'all got a lot of police over now. People know you don't mess around," and that's what we want to hear. So very proud of what the guys are doing, being very proactive, getting out there and really doing the job.
I think the other thing we heard tonight was a complaint about the number of police officers that we have. What I will say is, if you look at those large cities, you can't compare those numbers. We're a completely different size community, and so, you know, one officer for 500 residents or one officer for 1,000 residents, that doesn't, you can't equate those to one another.
However, I will say that comparison made me smile really big when.
But what I also want to make sure that we recognize is these other departments that we're talking about, they're struggling to get to full staff. They're struggling to find the number they need to reduce that number of or increase the number of officers per citizens.
Mm-hmm.
So we are very fortunate that we've been able to fill out our staff and do, you know, meet the objectives that we're trying to do. The addition of the ACE team, you know, I'm thrilled with the results that we're seeing there.
Yes.
You know, maybe even addressing issues that we kind of maybe thought might have been there, but didn't realize how prevalent they were, and how quickly I think that type of active policing is going to prevent folks from outside that are wanting to come in and do those types of things. They're going to learn that Spencer's not the place where you come to do that.
Yeah, word's already getting out. Yeah, we hear it. So
it's good.
Yeah, very good too.
Okay. Board, any other questions?
Appreciate
All right.
y'all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank y'all. Have a good night.
All right. Next is our fire department report. Does not look like we have
Via Zoom.
planning by Zoom. Okay.
Mayor and board, how are you this afternoon?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I apologize for my absence. I was hoping to make our commute back from Raleigh in time, and it just wasn't going to happen. Traffic had other plans for me. You have my prepared report before you. Unfortunately, I don't have it before myself, but I would be willing to answer any questions that you may have about it, if you have any.
All right. Board, any questions for Chief Lanning on the fire department report?
How did your agility testing go?
Not favorable. Ended up with 6 applicants for the engineer position, 3 of which were internal, 3 external. On Friday, 2 external applicants backed out. On Saturday morning, 1 external applicant was a no-show, and 1 internal applicant was unsuccessful in passing the agility test. So we actually are going and proceeding with the 2 that have passed thus far. Their interviews are actually at Town Hall tomorrow by an exterior panel of area municipal fire chiefs. They're going to complete the interview for those 2 just due to the staffing crisis that we're currently experiencing. We're going to push those 2 through. Unsure yet of exactly what's the fair way to give 3 captains, 2 engineers. We have reopened that process with a potential internal candidate that is interested in the position. However, on a qualification basis, they're not quite qualified to the level that we would really like for them to be. I know Monday was a week since we had reopened, and we're yet to get any additional applications. And I could speculate several different reasons why, but I'm just going to remain hopeful that someone wants to be an engineer for the town of Spencer. I know for our firemen, that process closes on April 1st, and the last time I checked, I believe we were up to 10 or 11 applicants for those 3 positions. So it is definitely functioning much better than the engineer opening and application period did.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Lanning. Any other questions from the board? All right. Thank you. Safe travels.
Thank you. Y'all have a great afternoon.
All right. Next is our Public Works report. Mr. Taylor.
Either Mayor, members of the board.
Yes, sir.
My glasses on so I can read. All of our regular services are running on schedule, and we've already added mowing to our schedules. So weather's doing some weird things right now. It really is. So they've been working just partial schedule, getting the parks cleaned up, extra properties of ours, that kind of stuff. But I foresee some abatements coming soon with the growth of what we're seeing. So we're already doing spraying, mowing. Might have another cold spell, but I don't know at this point in March whether it'll last very long. So I think we'll be okay. The leaf packs began running again this week, and they will continue until the 12th of April. So if anyone has leaves they want to put out loose, we will pick those up until the Friday of the 12th. And then they will be, then the leaf packs will go up for the rest of the summer, and they'll have to be bagged to be picked up for the summer. The mulch giveaway, again, advertising will be on the 20th of April, that Saturday morning from 7 until 12. So delivery will be available just as normal. We're also arranging for the annual spring cleanup day, but we're going to work in conjunction with the United Way with one of the schools. We did some measurements and stuff yesterday and submitted a materials list to the United Way for some a couple bridges, footbridges that need to be replaced on that, and some cleanup that needs to be done. So keep your ears open. We'll be looking for volunteers for the 11th to get people involved. Horizons Unlimited, they're bringing the school groups back to Standback this year. There'll be 3 weeks, 2 days per week, and then another week in April. They skipped the week, I think around Easter probably is why they skipped that week. But so we've arranged to have restrooms over there again for that month, and we got a little help out from one of our local companies. So they will be there for roughly a month, and it's a good thing that's being used. So we completed one stormwater issue on Hudson Avenue between 6th and 7th. We made the repair and got the street repaired, but we did not get the asphalt on. We'll get that as warm weather comes up. We've got some others that will need some asphalt. We'll do all those at the same time. So with sad news, Chad Eagle, he's announced that he's retiring at the end of the month. So that'll leave a hole in my department, beyond a big hole in my department. But we're doing our best. We've got applications open, hoping to get somebody in here. I want someone to get in and work with Chad for a couple weeks before he takes off. He has expressed some interest in possibly some part-time work. Once his days work out, he has to work that out with his retirement. So, but it's possible that I can get him back, and if that's the case, then he'll help me through, mechanics-wise, till we get somebody. Nothing really to report. Nothing's really changed on the dam since we talked on Friday. Everything's still the same. The CCAP update, I've tried to get in touch with Chris since Friday. I haven't gotten in touch with him. I've also tried to get in touch with Levi, which I haven't gotten in touch with him either. But I did meet a contractor out there today. So we walked the job site. He's doing some pricing. And I've got some interest from 2 others that I'm going to be meeting later in the week to walk over the property. So still moving forward with the contractors. We're just still hanging on the permit. And if something comes out about that, I'll let Peter know. We'll let you know, if the permits do come in. But that's how we're moving forward. But I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
All right, thank you. Board questions? Yes, Ms. Sledge.
Joel, do we maintain, or does the town maintain the roads going through Standback Forest? Or is that somebody else that maintains those?
Yeah, the trails, you mean?
No, the road.
Like Rowan Avenue?
Oh, Rowan Avenue, that's ours. That's
Okay,
municipal street. Yes, ma'am.
There's 2 places that there's some pretty good potholes.
I have them on the, as soon as I get the material, they'll be fixed.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. I'll note that again, but I do have those on the list. We ran out of stuff to do with. So. And on that note, I saw where they have actually done the grinding on Andrews from the interstate all the way to the stoplight. I didn't see it on the way home, and I saw it on the way back. So, so that tells me that they're in this area. And
have we heard anything as far as
April? The
April
last
1st
date
was the last date we heard.
Okay.
Yeah, April. So
because we'll have to do some public education and outreach on that, just so folks understand the impacts.
We actually asked NCDOT about that, and they were going to be getting some information to us to assist with that. Okay. So we're waiting on that information.
April 1st will be here before we know it.
And the weather's warmed up quicker than they thought. I feel sure. So they're doing, paving quick.
Make hay while you can.
Exactly. So, but just because they're there doesn't mean they're coming here next. It just, sometimes it does mean so. Very good.
All right. Board, any other questions?
One question.
Yes, sir.
Did you say something about paving streets? Are we going to try to pave some streets this summer?
It'll be probably either into the fall or next spring. We're trying to catch up from the last one we did. Usually it takes about 2 years worth of PAL bill money to get enough money to get a decent paving. So we'll start probably next fall, getting the paperwork done, and then it'll be the following spring.
We tried packaging them so that we get a better price.
Better price
Yeah,
and all
we can
that.
do more at a
Okay.
given time.
I heard you say something about patching streets or paving streets.
Oh, well, we'll be patching. I've got 2 repairs that we've done, and as soon as I can get asphalt, and the state can get asphalt right now, but it's kind of tough for me to just go get a ton here, a ton there. They're not producing like that. They're mass producing.
Okay, thank you.
Well, how, because the Powell vote, and they need to, this is a Heather question, but, you know, we heard something last year about that they might be changing the way Powellville funds come in. Have we heard any more about that?
I think it's on the same schedule as it has been. Okay, yeah, same schedule. Now, they did change the
Percentage, yeah, that's,
and we did get a little bit more this year than was expected.
so we got more then.
We got a little bit more.
Okay.
They recalculated and did some percentage.
2 years ago, we got less, but then this past year, we got more.
We got more. And I think it's supposed to hang pretty close to that number for next year.
Okay.
And then those 2 years combined, then we should be good to do another project.
Any progress on Second Street, getting contractors for that?
I have got 2 bids.
You need 3?
I would like to have 3, especially at the price that this one's going to. So, yes, sir. I can't announce
Are
what
the prices
is
pretty
gonna be.
close?
Yeah, because that would be kind of unfair to the third one. But yeah, it's going to be a pretty hefty.
Okay. Do we anticipate putting that in the budget for next year? Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Did we just turn into a swimming pool?
Absolutely. Anything's possible. I think that would be more expensive than fixing it.
And then maybe we could channel some of that water that's down on 3rd Street up and
Push it that way. Very true. Very true.
raise that bridge down there. Yeah.
All right. Board, anything
It's all
else?
possible.
Thank you, Mr.
Okay,
Taylor.
you're welcome. Thank you.
All right, next is our finance report.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good.
So you have my report in front of you. I've kept an eye out on our sales and use tax, and we still haven't got any information yet, but as soon as I get that, I will get that out to you. Alderman Sledge had asked about the monthly activity for our sales and use tax and how that was in a negative amount. So I just wanted to kind of update you on that there was a mistake at the state level for distributions, and they corrected that in February. And I was just following up to see how Mark was going to go into that and see if it had been corrected across the board with the amounts and the percentages. So, are there any questions about the within the report?
Are we looking good budget wise? Everything look?
Yes, everything looks pretty good budget wise. And I'm just keeping, like I said, just keeping an eye out on those revenues from sales and use tax. But everything else seems to be okay. There's a couple of things that were unexpected throughout the year, but I think with just moving some things around in our department wise, we will be okay with it. For example, Joel broke our bucket truck, and we had to fix it. So, you know.
Joe broke the bucket truck and the budget.
And the budget.
That's what I just heard.
He did. But he's really good about making sure that he has funds elsewhere to kind of cover things. So, are there any questions?
Any other questions, board? All right, thank you very much.
Just want to let you know that it's a privilege to be here and to see how you guys work together for this town. And it's pretty awesome.
As a staff, y'all make sure to thank y'all.
Yes, it is.
All right, library report. Ms. Ward.
Good evening again,
Good
Mayor
evening.
and Board. So this past month, our librarian, Ms. Beverly McCraw, she was very busy. On the 13th, she had an event for kids for Valentine's Day, where they read stories about love and hugs. There were Valentine cupcakes. They had a craft of making a little wooden heart, decorating that. And then on the 22nd, there was an event which was in partnership with Kyle and Sky for the labor history storytelling project where residents came and shared their various stories of the railroad, but also blacksmiths, carpenters, secretaries, just all sorts of different labor in the area. And part of that was in order to assist the muralist Max Dowdle, who will be doing the mural on the wall for Town Hall. He is focusing on our labor history and wanted to incorporate, not just the railroad, but all sorts of labor in the area. And it was Pinocchio's restaurant. They offered they gave charcuterie board and other I'm sorry, daylight savings has really taken a toll on me. And it gave Beverly an opportunity to show some citizens around the library who may not have otherwise been there. And then on the 26th, the Director of Journalism of Wake Forest University, Phoebe Zerwick, who is the author of Beyond Innocence, which is it's an investigative journalism book about the injustice to Darrell Hunt in 1980s Winston-Salem. She came and spoke to the African American Studies class from, if I remember correctly, it was North Rowan High School. It was Darrell Hunt. Nope, that's the person. Sorry. But the I thought she had the name of the Marcus Hamilton. That was it. The teacher of the African American Studies class. He came with the students, and they were all able to speak one-on-one with her, and they had a really good time, sharing their, I guess good time is not the right term, but they were able to share their experiences as well during the event with her.
Thank you. Board, any questions on the library report?
Do we have any idea how many people actually came for the storytelling event? Was there a number? Is there a number about that anywhere?
My guess would be.
Kyle knows.
Yeah, I was going to say. I
Kyle
don't think it's
he
enough for Kyle.
sprung up in a hurry, didn't he?
We had, and I really wish we had counted exactly, but I think we had around 40 to 45 people.
That's fantastic.
Basically, we were at capacity. The library was at capacity. If any more people had shown up, probably would have come away.
Great.
That's exciting.
It was a great event.
Yeah.
Since I'm up here, I'll just say.
Go ahead, Kim.
Sorry. We are planning on meeting with Max Dowdle in the next 1 to 2 weeks, and we hope to have an update for you on how that process turns out in a more formal way, maybe next month.
Okay. Yeah. Did you get any feedback from him while he was there? Did he?
Yeah, he
enjoy
participated
the
himself
session?
in one of the groups,
Yeah.
the storytelling group, and he had a great time. And we debriefed afterward to sort of share the moderators' insights. And then Max himself received the recordings that we did of each group, and he's making his way through those.
It feels like he has the inspiration he needs.
Correct.
Good. Correct. Okay. Great. Thank you.
One more thing.
It was a good day.
First of all, I want to thank Ms. McCraw again for doing such a good job. She really has so many activities up there. And I think the community is becoming much more aware of the library and how important it is. One citizen said to me, and I should have already been by there to check, but I haven't, that there's no sign that indicates it's the library. It just says Spencer School from the old sign. And they were concerned about that, so I'm just bringing that up. If there isn't one, can that be
So
included
there
in the
actually
sign?
is. We've determined that there is, but as far as from a visibility standpoint,
Okay,
that's
maybe
something I
that's
think that we can work on.
And yes, so we've heard about this issue for sure. We programmed into our budget this year some funding on signage. That part of which is the idea towards the sign here.
Right.
And the other part of that is, you recall when we had the presentation on the wayfinding, there was going to be an opportunity for some additional signage. And that's a good example of a sign that could be in that style near the library. So yes, it's all true, and,
Okay,
and we're
that's what
working
I-
on
And
it.
also those wayfinding signs actually pointing from, Salisbury Avenue out
That
here
will point
to be able to direct
one.
folks to places like the library.
I told them to be looking for all of that if it's coming.
Anything else? All right, thank you, Ms. Ward. And now the town manager report, Mr. Franzese.
Thank you once again. I'll cover a few highlights. I wrote in there about our old building and the need to do testing, sampling and testing related to hazardous materials, in particular asbestos. That will help us have a better estimate of demolition costs, because the estimates we've gotten so far have had tenfold differences, depending on whether or not there's a presence, or to what extent there's a presence of asbestos. And so that report is going to help us really hone in better about what the magnitude of that demolition phase would be. You also will note in there some suggested in a way, because it's adjustable, but what we are working towards around the budget and the calendar. And of course, by law, the departmental budget requests have to be submitted by the end of April, and the manager's recommended balanced budget, I'll say, that's part of the law as well. It has to be to you by the end of May, and then we have to hold a public hearing sometime before you consider a budget ordinance. That of course needs to take place sometime in June before it takes effect in July. So those are the statutory timeframes we work towards, and there's some suggestions in the monthly report about how we would proceed between now and then, and some opportunities for additional workshops, et cetera, if those would be needed. But I think we're off to a good start based on the time we were able to spend last week with the planning session. Certainly appreciate everybody's time, and I mentioned it, but I'll say it again, appreciate the staff's involvement in getting that together, but your involvement as well, and taking the time to be together and kind of delve in at this level, so that when you see the recommended budget, it's reflective of what you've established as priorities. So I think that's what leads us to success. And you heard a little bit earlier about the partnership for the United Way Day of Caring, but we've done the last few years Spencer Cares Day, and this year we thought it would be a really good idea to fold that within the United Way Day of Caring and look for an opportunity to do a project here in Spencer. And so the project that was identified was a trail, some trail maintenance needed at the elementary school. And so, as you heard from Joel, we've gotten kind of a scope together for that, and the United Way folks are going to be working on getting materials identified, lined up for us. But what we'll be doing is looking to recruit community volunteers to join staff that day. It's Thursday, April 11th, and it's a great opportunity to partner together and give back. And specifically, this project is a lot of the work will be just doing some cleanup around the trails, but also some replacing of wooden decking over some footbridges along this trail. I don't know, Joel, is it we're talking about maybe a 2 to 3 mile, the length of this trail that you took a look at, is it 2 miles or less? Not, yeah, 1,200 feet. So, okay, but it's a nature trail that was constructed a few years back near the elementary school. Be happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you. Board, any questions for the manager? All right. Very good. Hearing none, we'll start with requesting comments from the mayor and board, and we'll start with Mr. Miller this evening.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. A few comments about our annual planning session. I'd like to thank Mr. Franzese and the staff for doing an outstanding job. It's always good to get people together and get new ideas, and look forward to new ideas for the community. And there are some good things coming about. some things we need to consider, so that's good. The only comment I'm concerned about is this was open to the public, and I wasn't really impressed with no turnout by the public. This is your town, just like it's my town and anybody else's town, and we'd like some comments. Of course, you can always comment to us individually, but at the same time, we'd like to hear you at these meetings. I hope you maybe zoomed in and watched some of the meetings as far as that goes. But again, the staff did a really good job, and I appreciate their interest in the community as far as that goes. And finally, on a sad note, I'd like to recognize the life of Judy Patton. Judy Patton was a member of our church, Central United Methodist Church, outstanding person in our community, very outstanding in our church, choir director, organist, helped with the singing Christmas tree for many years. Judy also was an outstanding, I know she worked in the North Orleans school system as far as it goes. Outstanding person, and we'll miss her. I know Jennifer Crawford, her daughter, will definitely miss her. Her funeral is tomorrow, 1 o'clock at our church, Central United Methodist Church.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Ms. Moody.
I will be brief, but I also wanted to thank all the town staff and everyone's efforts, especially to get the new kid on board for my first annual planning session. I appreciated such an in-depth look. I also hope to see more faces, that it was open to the public. So I hope that we can continue to grow our audience in the future. And I just wanted to say that I think we've been speaking a lot recently about taxes and budgeting, and I just really see the value of investing in this incredible community. I wanted to add that, speaking about our law enforcement per citizen capita, we also have an incredible community here. We have a great relationship between law enforcement and citizens here. And if we're looking at other comparing communities, they're not faring so well. So I feel very fortunate to be a resident here and to be a part of this town. And so I just wanted to point that out, that, you know, as a taxpayer, I totally get it. But I also want to say an investment in our community and our kids and our futures is just really important. So I appreciate everyone participating in those decisions.
Thank you. Mr. Howell.
Thank you. I think just to echo what you both have said, I think to the folks listening at home or who read this or click on the YouTube and check this out at some point in the next week or so, the next few months, as Mr. Franzi said, we'll be talking about our budget. There's lots to talk about. And if you missed the planning session, I'd go back and listen or maybe read about it or ask one of us. There's a lot going on. There's a lot coming. And that requires a lot of forethought. And so please come out between now and June as we put this budget together and have a conversation. I appreciate Mr. Srini coming and sharing his thoughts tonight. I absolutely get it, right? I mean, you know, no one gets up in the morning and just can't wait to pay their tax bill. But at the same time, our fire and our police and our public safety folks and all of our staff and everyone who's pulling the freight train here, you know, they're doing their absolute darndest to do a good job, and we need to continue to support that. So, but again, come out and talk to us. Let's have some dialogue. Tell us where maybe we're wrong or where we're missing something, and we'll have a back and forth and try to get down to the best value for us all. Because that's really what we all should be after, is the best value to get what we need. And I'll yield my time.
Thank you. Ms. Sledge.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Two things I wanted to mention. I received a message this afternoon, shortly before I got here, announcing that there will be the spring Spencer Senior Luncheon, which is going to be conducted again in conjunction with the town and Ruffey Homes. There'll be more information to come, but the date for that is going to be May the 21st. And I'm sure we'll post the information online and have it, probably the poster here in our foyer. But want to remind everyone that that's an event that's sponsored by the town. Ruffey Homes, in conjunction with the Senior Center, is the host for it this year. And there'll be music giveaway and foods. The registration is required, and it's for any citizens 55 years and older, and it will be at Oakdale Baptist Church again, as it has been in the past. The other thing I just wanted to mention is that this past week we had International Women's Day, and we planned to get a picture of all the women who were involved here at the event for the planning session, and we let everybody walk away without taking a picture. But I want to say thank you to all the women in our town, on this board, and our staff who work every day to make our world a better place. International Women's Day is set aside to recognize the contribution of women in their careers, their social lives, their contributions to the world as a whole. And this year the focus was on equity for all women and elevating women to the positions where they can make a difference in their community. So thank you all for your participation. Thank you all for being so generous with your time and with your efforts. And happy Women's History Month.
Thank you, Ms. Sledge. Mr. Muhammad.
Okay. First of all, to piggyback off of what the rest of my constituents already have stated about the strategic planning sessions that we had, they were pretty much informative, but it would have been nice to have some residents' participation and to be vocal. And feel free, it's not too late to be vocal, but I know in prior planning sessions, the community did come out and we had some good interactions, positives, negatives, and just the thoughts of what the residents, felt about what the town is doing. And also, too, it's a good way for the residents to be informed because I know there are questions. I've had phone calls. Some of the other board members have had phone calls as well as the staff. So to make sure that the residents are fully informed, please come out, attend the meetings, view it online. I want to thank the residents that are here in person and the ones that are watching as well, and the ones that also have gave comments. And with that being said, I hope that everybody has a blessed rest of the week.
Thank you, Mr. Muhammad. Mayor Pro Tem.
I had the pleasure of going to the Rowan County Realtors meeting, and each municipality was invited. And since Jonathan couldn't go, as Mayor Pro Tem, he asked me to go. And I want to tell you that I was very, very proud to stand up there and talk about Spencer and the things that we are trying to accomplish. And a lot of people came by to talk to me afterwards and congratulated us on what we are doing here. And Mr. Francis helped me get some good bullet points because there was so much I couldn't even narrow down what I needed to focus on. So I want to thank him for that. And the retreat I thought was a major success. We do need more citizen input, and we hope that you'll be involved in that more next year. I'm really, really proud also of the way we've stepped up and are making a commitment to help the schools, because schools are really in a crisis as far as funding right now. There's never enough money in a school. So that anything that we can help to improve teacher morale, which comes down and affects the students, and keep our students safe is a plus. We've got resource officers in each school. And I notice when I go to events at the schools, you always see a physical presence of the police and the fire department. And that's really, really good for our kids and for the community. So thanks to all of us. Thanks to the whole staff.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. And I'll wrap us up. Just a few thoughts and comments. I'll echo everybody. Thank you to the staff for your time, giving up your day and other obligations that you have with your jobs on Friday to have a really good planning session. It's nice to see. I think several years back we kind of set a strategic plan into motion, and we're seeing many of those things come to fruition. And it's been nice to have that as a guiding document so that when we make decisions, whether it's staffing decisions, whether it's infrastructure decisions, it's not because we're doing that just on a whim. We're doing it because we're working from a plan that was developed not only by our staff and our board, but largely by our community more than 4 years ago. that really came together. I remember the meeting at North Carolina High School that we had, and all of these things that we're doing were key priorities that our citizens expressed a desire. Enhanced public safety, whether that be police or fire, addressing particular infrastructure problems like our stormwater projects and issues, but then also more green space and parks and recreation, making us a place that people want to live, making us a place that other communities are envious of. And so, you know, when it comes to budgeting, when it comes to taxes, those things are going to ebb and flow. They can't be static all the time. We can't keep those things the same. And so, you know, as we address that, who's to say that next year it might be different? The tax rate, I think that's what we need to have a mentality that tax rates will go up, tax rates will come down. It's based on our revenue projection. It's based on working that strategic plan and when those projects and initiatives need to happen. And also when growth happens. And again, we've been in planning for this growth mode for the last several years. The expectation and the hope is that when that happens, as we grow smartly and we grow responsibly, that we're going to be able to actually help our residents by offsetting many of those taxes, or being able to do more with their tax dollar, and have more opportunities to continue to better the town. I would have loved to have seen more folks come out. My recommendation would be, I think it's a great opportunity for us as we roll into the budgeting season. When we roll that budget out as part of that public hearing, I would actually like us to see us do a community event in advance of that, to try and engage some folks and go through and just really spend some time explaining the budget and the initiatives and why we're doing what we're doing, and be able to answer questions, I think, too. Because like you said, being able to educate folks so that they know where their tax dollar is going and why it's going to this, I think that's our duty and our obligation that we do that. It's our citizens' obligation to show up and participate in that dialogue, and I hope that they will. So with that, I appreciate the work that all of you as board does. It's a pleasure to work alongside you, and thank our staff very, very much for the work that you do. We're steering the ship in the right direction, I think, and so I think I just want us to keep our eyes on the vision that we've set several years back, making sure that we don't backslide as a community, to continue to push forward, because if we backslide, we're doing a disservice to those that have come before us, that have shaped our community, those that have led our community before us, and you know, those that have invested in our community, whether it be their time, their talents, or their treasures. So with that, that is all I have this evening. Is there a need for executive session tonight? Okay.
Jay looked like he might have something to say over there.
All right. Doesn't appear so.
Okay.
All right.
So, you gonna say anything?
You're about to break a record. I'm not gonna mess it up.
All right. With that, is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Motion by Mr. Muhammad. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mayor Pro Tem. All in favor? All right. All opposed? We stand adjourned. Thank you all very much.